So basically, throughout my whole life, people have always told me that I'm very disciplined. That like it must take a lot of discipline to do the things I do. Namely, from 12 to 17, I was pursuing professional sport. I was like waking up 5 a.m, training 3 times a day. It was all like useless stuff. It didn't get me very far, but it took what they think a lot of discipline to actually do that. Like it was hard work objectively, yeah. But when people would say this to me, even like with my health stuff now, like people say, "Oh, Mason, you must have a lot of discipline to eat this strict diet and to like be very strict with your lifestyle and like not drinking, not doing drugs, any of this stuff, not living like a degenerate sort of lifestyle and focusing on health." And they say that takes like a lot of discipline, which in my mind is absolutely not the case. Like objectively, discipline isn't a real thing. The body will always do what it wants to do, like in terms of taking action. People just, see this like imaginary idea of like using free will to take action despite maybe a strong, overwhelming desire to avoid pain or avoid discomfort. So in the example of like, the 9 to 5 worker, like they wake up in the morning, they're very tired, they want to sleep in, they don't want to go to work, and they're of the belief that they get out of bed and go to work due to discipline, which is not true, because the reason they get out of bed and go to work is due to the fact that in the mind, in the subconscious and conscious mind, they have the association of not going to work with not getting paid, with getting fired, with being like, in general, in broad terms, in a life-threatening state, not having the means to ensure survival, to buy food, to buy shelter, to provide for your family, all these things. So that is like the overwhelming and more, stringent factor of consideration biologically, because the mind is the body, they're the same thing. The mind is obviously a physical organ, and these associations and these distinctions and these processes occur in the mind. So, when that worker gets out of bed and goes to work, they're like, "Oh, wow, I'm really disciplined for actually getting that done and actually, turning up to work day by day." But, they're always actually doing what is the more powerful motivator. So the motivator for them would be the avoidance of the pain of, not having the income, losing the job, not being able to provide for their family. And that is the more dominant motivator compared to that which is I want to sleep in, I don't want to go to work, I hate my fucking job, and I want to actually sleep and get some rest. So the same went for like my sport, albeit like it came from probably a big place of insecurity. Like I was attached to the idea of being the professional soccer player because like I wanted a sense of validation just from like socially in general. Also, like I loved the sport, and it was like a dream to play the sport I loved professionally and all that stuff. But like these were mental associations that I had in my mind that, were attachments of pleasure and attachments of pain. So like mentally, at least on a subconscious level, like I thought that, when I get this goal, when I make this progress in my sport, I will feel all this pleasure. And there's also the association like, if I don't reach my goals and I don't make all this progress, then I will feel so much pain, or I'll exist in the pain that I currently felt, like maybe the insecurity, maybe just the inadequacy that I felt. I subconsciously at least knew that if I didn't take action and I didn't try to change my situation, I would stay in that place of pain and discomfort. And humans, all animals, only ever do things for 2 reasons: so the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. And discipline, a use of free will, is never one of those factors. You can always reduce like people's actions to the pursuit of pleasure, avoidance of pain. The health stuff, obviously like I feel good in the moment, eating healthy, like it feels good to eat all the healthy foods. A lot of them I enjoy. Maybe the rotten meat, the taste is a bit questionable, but like for the most part it's all pretty intuitive and like it just makes sense to enjoy eating them. But one part of it is just like having the conscious education, like through my own research, through my own experience, speaking to others, learning about the diet and like my own diet philosophy, lifestyle philosophy, health philosophy. Like I know on the conscious mind, which is now like impressed the subconscious beliefs, that if I like live my life this way and like eat this diet and do this lifestyle, I will get these better health outcomes, like this greater pleasure and minimize pain. An element of it basically, I would say like the avoidance of pain is maybe even the more prevalent one, because the person who's not in pain doesn't have a motivation to do anything. Like the pain could simply be like a slight dissatisfaction. So maybe, the greatest one is like a sexual motivation. Like humans obviously are sexual beings. The most powerful energy humans have is like that of the sexual one, that of the wish to reproduce, to see the genes passed on, to ensure the survival of offspring, all this stuff. So like one of the great motivators for men, especially, and women, is to achieve things in life, to create, to attain, purely to like aid in the sexual pursuit. So you see this all the time with just men like really trying to reach the peak of like their social status, and like in physical pursuits, like material pursuits, like getting nice cars, designer jewelry, like whatever milestones of finances, and that basically all is to receive a sexual validation, because like they have basically through observation of society, I'd say in part wrongful and deluded, but they have like the association in their mind, or they've made it in their conscious mind and then subconscious, that money will bring like sexual access, that like women will want to be with me more when I have money, and that is like the most powerful one, I'd say. So like as an example, a businessman, maybe say short, ugly, single, all this stuff, he is waking up like 5 a.m. and working on his business, trying to make money, trying to close deals, all this stuff. People would say like, oh wow, you're so disciplined. But they don't realize this guy has no other choice. Like it's either sit in the extreme pain that is being single, being dissatisfied with your life, all these things. Like people do that, but they always resort to numbing it through drugs, or some other like cheap stimulus, or like actually try change the situation. And it's never like an act of the conscious mind. It's an act of like absolute necessity. Like if this doesn't give, if like I don't change this, something else has got to change, and like that is drugs. So like that's why people turn to drugs and alcohol when like they don't have a choice. Like the subconscious, the conscious can't like problem solve to the degree of like finding a productive solution, or like a solution that they see as feasible, like just in terms of being able to do. So then they turn to the next best and easiest, which is drugs. So and that's due to the fact that like turning to drugs is an avoidance of pain and pursuit of pleasure, because like in their mind, in terms of associations, this is purely like a lot of this is based on like subjective associations, like education, if you will, like understanding of how stimulus will result in like outcomes of pleasure and pain. The reason people turn to drugs is because in their mind, drugs will be a deliverance of pleasure. It will minimize the pain, and they aren't consciously aware, obviously maybe due to lack of experience or just education in general, of the painful consequences, in terms of like seeing what the future will hold, or having that conscious understanding of what the future will hold, the painful consequences of becoming that drug addict, and like really, having to rely on that. And then also the fact like that they don't know the better way forward, because obviously we'd all agree, like if someone, their life's gone to shit, they're taking a bunch of drugs, like we'd all agree there is a better path for them, but they don't know that, and that association doesn't exist in their mind. So in terms of like my advice for other people to be disciplined, discipline's not real. In terms of my advice for other people to be able to like live so virtuously, quote unquote, to like do these things that do result in the best health and happiness outcomes, I would be telling them to find their whys. Like what are the motivating factors, like what is the pain associated with failing and like not actually fulfilling your mission, and then what are the potential pleasures that you will like reap from living your life a different way, and like taking these risks, and living the life that people would label as disciplined. So getting that education, like people wouldn't, just in terms of like sales or something, say for example I'm trying to sell everyone on eating raw chicken, and straight up I just say, will you eat this raw chicken? And they'd say no. Like most people have no idea what the benefit of like a high quality organic pasture raised raw chicken drumstick could be health wise, and that makes perfect sense why they would say no. But then given that education, maybe I take them on like a 2-hour health lecture masterclass, explain germ theory, terrain theory, the benefits of getting like these raw nutrients. They would be convinced. They would like have had that education, which would have impressed the subconscious mind, like the beliefs they hold to be true, and that created that association such that they would then be interested in having the raw chicken. And it's not like a fact of discipline, it's just a fact of like, this is now a more appealing, to the brain, to the organ of survival, is now a more appealing option. So yeah, my advice is create those associations, get those like the education to understand like why something would be the case, and like how effective something could be at like giving outcomes. So like, another example in why education is so important is like, say just finance, say like e-commerce, drop shipping, for example. I don't drop ship, but just an example. A lot of people know what drop shipping is. There would be guys like making 10 mil a year from drop shipping, and they would tell you that it's like ridiculously easy. They've got no like tertiary education, but they just applied themselves and did these things. And how they went about it is due to the painful circumstance or like pursuit of pleasure, all this stuff. But like the reason that they kept at it, and the reason most people don't actually pursue this stuff, when it could be extremely easy, even a 12-year-old could do it, all this stuff, is due to education, due to like the not knowing of how easy it is, and like how good the results are, and how good the results feel, like all these associations, but primarily education, because like they don't actually realize the step-by-step process. Same with like cryptocurrency, which I do a bit of. People think that that's like some fucking, you need to be like some genius, some like mathematical wizard to actually be able to do that cryptocurrency stuff. You need to be like, have a bit of common sense, and if you apply yourself, you can make money. Like that's my sort of stance on it. So yeah, the same with my diet. If everyone knew the benefits and like knew how good it felt to be on my diet, everyone would be doing it. So yeah, that's the summary. Discipline's not real. People always do what they want to do, like what their body wants to do internally, both in the mind and the subconscious and the physical. They want to pursue pleasure, avoid pain. And if you want the best life for yourself, you need to educate yourself on how to actually get those pleasurable outcomes. And you need to like hold the why in mind. Like, what are the outcomes you want? Like, what is the life you wish to live? Maybe it's like to have freedom, to have health, to have family, all these things. And then like, what's the pain if you don't get it? Because ultimately it's the pain that's motivating that. So you got to tap into that. And yeah, in general though, also, I will say there's an element of like the biochemical health aspect. Like the man, an analogy, if you cut off a dog's balls, it's not going to be aggressive at all. It's not going to have any fights in it. It won't have any ambition, any motivation. And then it's the same thing as a man. Like, given our biggest motivator is the sexual one, if you like nuke your hormones with a shitty diet, a deficient diet, like toxins, microplastics, all these things, xenoestrogenic compounds, you're essentially killing that dog in you and killing that like motivating factor. Because like, what is testosterone in terms of just relationship to personality attributes? It motivates and it's like associated and a key factor in the motivation of pursuit of power, which is a sexual one. So if you cut off your balls metaphorically and have a shit diet, shit lifestyle, then likely due to the fact that you don't have that sexual ambition, you won't be wanting to make that change. And I guess you'll be happy to stay where you are. Given the fact you don't have that ambition and don't have that pain of not having the thing that you want, you can sort of like live and be in that ignorance. No offense to some of my friends, they're all like very nice guys, but like a lot of them don't have a lot of ambition. Like they sort of stay at home, stay up, just playing video games, all these things. And I think like a massive reason in that is due to like how poor their hormonal composition is, like how poor their health is, testosterone, all these things. Like maybe they're just masturbating, maybe they're like literally killing all the sexual drive they have. So they have like no subconscious, no like innate nervous system drive to pursue and attain and to like develop their life in themselves in a way that they can get better outcomes of health and of happiness and fulfillment. So yeah, but then that's like, they'll always be in a little bit of discomfort, but never enough discomfort to change. maybe until they get the education. So that's everything. I think that's everything. Thanks for watching, guys.